Thanks for joining us. I'm Erin Hassanzadeh with CBS News Minnesota. Community members are gathered at the Hennepin County Government Center Plaza to protest, demand answers, and express outrage after one police officer shot and killed 22-year-old Amir Locke during a raid in downtown Minneapolis. This is a live look for you at downtown Minneapolis this afternoon. You can see quite the crowd there at the Hennepin County Government Center Plaza. Hundreds out there now. People are still kind of arriving. This event started at 3 o'clock. Last night, we saw people out in their cars, about 100 cars caravanned around the Bolero Flats near 11th and Marquette last night in their cars. You can see today people are on foot, and they are, of course, protesting the shooting death of Amir Locke. Today's protest is held by Twin Cities Coalition for Justice for Jamar. Hundreds out there. It is quite cold today, but that obviously did not deter this crowd here. This comes after Officer Mark Hanneman shot and killed 22-year-old Amir Locke on Wednesday morning. That was during a no-knock raid inside a downtown apartment. We know that raid was part of an ongoing murder investigation by St. Paul police, and that the MPD SWAT team was actually assisting the St. Paul Police Department homicide unit during that no-knock raid that ended in the shooting death of Amir Locke. You can see people by the hundreds here in downtown Minneapolis out in the cold on foot. We're anticipating they could march around downtown Minneapolis. We saw that car caravan last night briefly blocking traffic. This is quite the turnout on a cold Saturday in Minneapolis. Now, some are calling for the officer, Mark Hanneman, to be arrested. Some are calling for him to be prosecuted. And it's hard for you to probably see on your screen, but we could see it a little bit earlier. A lot of the signs out there today, it looks like a group maybe made a lot of the same signs, say Fry lied and Amir died. So people have been calling not just for this officer, to be fired or to step down or to be prosecuted, but people have also expressed frustration with the mayor, frustration with the interim police chief as well. And so that's what you're looking at. Hundreds. You can see they may be on the move there now, crossing the street, out marching for Amir Locke, just days after his shooting death by police. Unfortunately, this is not a new sight in downtown Minneapolis. We have seen this before. People coming together to protest deadly police encounters in this state, in this city. And undoubtedly, because we have been through this before, and because people are not seeing the level of change that has been called for years now, that is no doubt adding perhaps to some frustrations here and exhaustion, and really people repeatedly calling for police accountability and transparency. Again, you are seeing the turnout here, people protesting, marching. They may or may not be on the move. It's a little hard to tell right now. It looks like they might be crossing the street, but for Amir Locke, the 22-year-old who was shot and killed by police during a no-knock raid. Another thing, we mentioned those signs, the Fry lied, Amir died signs, which you can't see from this vantage point, but when we were zoomed in earlier, we could see that. Something we should note is that Mayor Fry did make it part of his campaign really to restrict these no-knock warrants. And so there are a lot of questions about that still. Why are we doing them? When are they acceptable? Was this a case like that? Sources tell WCCO TV that Minneapolis police would not serve the search warrant at the Bolero Flats unless it was a no-knock warrant. That is coming from sources, and so there was then a no-knock warrant that was obtained, and in this case used. And we all see how that turned out. So again, you're looking at hundreds of people marching for Amir Locke. We know he was not on the warrant. He was not involved, in the crime that the homicide unit and the SWAT team were investigating, but he was shot and killed during that raid Wednesday, and that is why people are gathered here in downtown Minneapolis today. So we have a couple crews down there on the ground with protesters here. This comes a day after Jacob Frey put a temporary ban on no-knock warrants, while national experts take a look at the police policy. Again, Locke's family, some community members, they're calling for the firing and prosecution of Officer Hanneman, the member of the MPD SWAT team who shot and killed Amir Locke during this no-knock raid. Both the state attorney general and the Hennepin County attorney plan to review this shooting, and we have crews out there on the scene. They'll have reports for us later, so stick with WCCO on TV and CBS News Minnesota for continuing coverage of this breaking story tonight.